As most IB students can probably confirm if you ask them, the CAS, or Creativity, Activity, and Service, part of the IB curriculum can seem easy and can therefore be easily underestimated. However, this is a huge mistake. Truth be told, it isn't easy. It can be very time-consuming, and if you do it wrong, it can become a huge task from something that is relatively simple. And if you do it too wrong, you can end up without a high school diploma or an IB diploma. So let me tell you how I did it right and how I finished early and excellently. Hey everybody, welcome back. For those of you who are new here, my name is Emiliano. I'm an IB graduate and I'm currently a few months into my gap year. I plan on studying medicine abroad. So if you want to hear more about that and applying to university, make sure to check out my playlist up here. Now let's get on with it. There are 7 steps that you can apply to make your life as easy as mine was when I was doing the IB and finish CAS super easily and make it feel like a breeze. The last one is the most useful and important one, so make sure you stick here until the end. So first off is to have varied and multi-pronged experiences. By this, I mean that you should try to include multiple strands of CAS, so creativity, activity, and service, and multiple learning objectives into one experience, so you can get the most out of that experience. Let me give you an example. So each CAS experience can be more than one thing. So it doesn't have to be only creativity, only activity, or only service. It can be creativity and action, or creativity and service, for example. So using myself as an example, I was in a boarding school where we had access to ski slopes, and I had one of my friends help me learn how to snowboard. And not only was this beneficial towards them because they helped me and that was CAS for them, I could use it as an activity since I was doing something active or sports-like, which is snowboarding, and as creativity because I was learning a new skill. That way, I got the most out of one enjoyable activity, knocking out 2 strands, so creativity and activity at the same time. So secondly, prioritize CAS. It doesn't have to be your number 1 priority, but it does have to be somewhere up that list. In my school, we had a student that failed the first year because of CAS and had to repeat it, and I mean, you want to avoid that happening to you. By prioritize, I mean don't leave things until the last minute because it has to be 18 months of continual CAS experiences. Now the IB is 20 months, so that gives you a 2-month leeway where you can have some CAS or not have some CAS. If you procrastinate on CAS and just start too late, you're gonna have to do what some of my classmates did and do CAS over the summer. And the IB is rigorous enough without you having to work your butt off in summer as well as during normal school time. So make sure to start early, but thankfully there's a way of getting around the 18-month continuous requirement. And this is a legit way, so don't worry. So what is this loophole, this legit loophole I'm talking about? It's basically getting everything out of the way in year 1. And by that I mean everything: experiences, reflections, strands. Get it all out of the way, reflect on everything, do it completely well. And then in year 2, you can do something on a bi-weekly or even monthly basis and just reflect on that. And that should still be enough to cover the 18 months. Even if you did everything in 12 months and then you have 6 months of one single experience or activity, like walking dogs, for example, you should be covered for those 18 months and it counts. And you're not really putting in that much effort in year 2. Also counts for reflections and is my main suggestion when talking about reflections. Just do them as early and as fast as you can. After each activity or each experience, just set apart 15-20 minutes and just bang out a few sentences or even a paragraph on what you just did. And then you don't have to worry about it ever again, instead of leaving it all till the end and then having to write 50 or 60 reflections that are due tomorrow and just stressing out about it. It's stress that you don't need because the IB is rigorous and hard enough. Number 3 is using CAS as a way of boosting your CV. Doing CAS is way easier if you frame it as something you're doing for yourself and for your personal development and to get into a good university than if you just think about it as something you need to do to pass the IB. It's easier to do things if you think they're going to benefit you in the long run, so maybe start some activities that will do that. So instead of walking a dog, which arguably is an easy way out of CAS, start a club at your school or join a team and become a leader or a team leader, something like that. Show initiative and leadership because universities love that and it will help you in the long run. My 4th tip is something that's quite obvious, but again, you'd be surprised at what some people just don't think about or just don't do. And it's use activities you enjoy for CAS. So for example, if you watched my last video, and if you didn't, you probably should up here. I really enjoy triathlon and I enjoy sports in general, like snowboarding. So I use these two as CAS. Because for me, it's quite easy to go snowboarding. It was quite easy to snowboard on the weekends or to go running or cycling after class. And that way, it didn't feel like work, but just more like play and fun to just go for a run and then write about it, than if I had to hype myself up about maybe doing something else I didn't enjoy. Of course, you don't have to use sports. That's just what I really like. If you like painting, you can use that for creativity. If you like helping other people, you can go to the old person's home or pick up trash or do something like that. If you play an instrument, you can use that. But make sure to use things that you enjoy, so you're not constantly having to push yourself and motivate yourself to do something that you're not really into. So when I was doing the IB, this fifth suggestion was a shock or was unexpected to me because I didn't know I could do this. So here it goes. You can try things, fail at them, and still include them in CAS. Now for me, this was mind-blowing because it meant that your experiences don't have to be successful to be valid. And that was like revolutionary because it meant I could add so many more reflections on things I had tried to do, hadn't succeeded, and I had thought weren't valid or weren't worthwhile putting, but they are. What makes an experience valid is just the fact that you've done it and that you've reflected on it and sort of learned about it. And most of our learning points come from mistakes or things that haven't panned out. So for example, my friends and I were working on this handbook for CAS for our school, and there was a deadline and we missed the deadline. And we didn't really finish the product since the deadline was passed and it wasn't worth it to us. But we still managed to reflect on it, and we managed to milk it for 3 or 4 reflections, if I remember correctly, even though we had no end result to show, because it's something we did and we learned from, and that's really valid. Sixth is don't be afraid to ask for help. And not only from your teachers, but from your fellow students and peers as well. I was asked for help a few times, and if they were continuous helping sessions, I was able to use them as CAS too. And that benefited me and the person I was helping. And if it was a one-off thing or just things I couldn't really use or didn't want to use as CAS, I either did them for free or I managed to earn a few bucks from those as well. So it's a classic sort of way of helping others and helping yourself at the same time. So seventh, and perhaps my most important takeaway from CAS, is that you have to make time. There's no such thing as not having time. You have to be willing to make and carve out time in your schedule to actually put in the work. So yeah, there is no such thing as not having time, not really. And even though the IB is really difficult, and you can check out what makes it so difficult up here, CAS is a requirement. You need it, like NEED, all caps, you need it to pass the IB. And since you need it, it's important that you give it the importance and the time that it requires and that it needs. Trust me, you don't want to fail your IB diploma or even just the IB year 1 because of CAS. So make sure you give it the time and the importance it needs. Don't procrastinate on it, even if it's hard. And your future self will thank you. Trust me, I was super happy when I had finished CAS earlier than my peers because that meant I could focus on exams, on internal assessments, and just on other types of things, while my friends were stuck inside worrying about CAS on top of all the other things we had to do. So yeah, thanks for watching, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. It's super helpful and massively appreciated. So thanks for that, and I'll catch you guys next week.